This is From Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob LaRue watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same.
Hey everybody, and welcome to From Justin to Kane. I'm Mike.
And I'm Bob.
And we're recording a new episode right now. Right?
Heck yeah. The nice Mike.
What an intro.
Episodes this week are or the two movies this week are In the Mood for Love by Wong Kar Wai and Leprechaun 2 by I don't know. Who directed it, Mike?
Oh, Roman Flender?
Flender, cool.
Yeah, it sounds made up, but it's his real name.
Is it? Well, it's his real name on IMDb.
Yeah, that's his name on IMDb. It is. Yeah, not Roman Flender, Rodman Flender.
Rodman Flender. Okay,
sounds
cool.
fake.
It sounds super fake. I would bet money it is a fake name.
Probably.
What were your thoughts on these two movies? Did you like them?
In the Mood for Love, I had been aware of since it came out in like 2000, and I was always wanting to see it. I actually, in university, used to listen to the soundtrack.
Oh, really? It's a great soundtrack.
It's a good soundtrack. Yeah, I think I got it out of the library or something and listened to the soundtrack all the time, but I never did see the movie until just this year.
Like on 8-track, or what was your device for listening?
It was compact disc. I mean, come on, give me some credit.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just throwing shade. I'm just trying to throw shade. Compact disc, not laser disc.
Yeah. What do you listen to?
Ones and zeros, man. Ones and
it's
zeros.
Just all
That's
ones
what
and
I
zeros,
listen to.
Yeah.
It's just a click of a button. I just say, "Okay, Google," or "Okay, Alexa, play the Shrek soundtrack."
You definitely say that. I actually have one of those Google things in the room with me right now. Watch this. Okay, Google, you know what to do.
Oh, I just heard a beeping sound.
I programmed it to do that.
The Shrek soundtrack.
I know, isn't that wild?
Oh my God. That's crazy. I wasn't even aware that was going to work out.
Yeah, no, I did that a long time ago where you say, you know what to do, and it plays that. And then I got it to...
How do you even program it to do that?
You just go into an app, and then you can just type in the commands you want it to, and then what you want it to do.
Like the Google Home app?
Yeah.
I just got a Chromecast, a hand-me-down Chromecast, so I now have that app. Google, what a company, what an innovator.
You could technically, I mean, this is not interesting to people listening to this, but you could technically, just open that app on your phone or whatever, and then talk to the mic, and then just say, play this movie on Netflix, and just control it with your voice via your phone.
I was not aware of that, really.
Yeah, that's
so I
like
wouldn't
the
have
whole
to put all the energy into using my thumb.
That's the whole point of having everything be castable, is that you do it with your voice.
Right.
Very interesting. Wow. Hopefully.
Well,
I don't know. We'll see.
I think it relates to our podcast because there are different methods to watching things.
Oh, yes, I see. Yes.
Right. Similar to how you used to listen to In the Mood for Love on 8-track cassette.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen to ones and zeros.
Yeah, I pay artists for their music. You don't. You think their music is worth cents. Mine, I think it's worth dollars at least.
Okay. Wow. Shots
Your
fired.
Generation is ruining avocado toast.
Oh, I feel like avocado toast has been around for a long time, but now it just has bad branding.
Yeah. Sad.
Anywho, okay, so we have these two movies. In watching, Mike, did you how was the similarity situation? Was it difficult? Was it trying, or was it easy?
At first I thought it was impossible. And then as it went on, I realized, oh, this isn't so hard. And then I did did some reading on both movies, and then I kind of pieced it together a little bit. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
It felt like similar to From Justin to Kelly and Citizen Kane.
Really? I thought that was one of the easiest ones, which is why this podcast even exists.
Well, yes, but I found this not super hard.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But the disparity in quality was reminiscent of our first episode, as was...
Wow, shots fired at ourselves.
I'm just trying to keep us humble, you know?
Yeah, you got to be humble.
We almost have 1,000 listeners, so...
No, that's not how it works.
Or 1,000 downloads.
Yeah.
Maybe we have 50 listeners. Oh, God. They're downloading it multiple times. Sweet Jesus.
That's still good, though. It means we've got fans.
That's fine.
Canines.
That's fine. We got
to throw some meat to the canines sometimes, you know?
Just slabs of meat to the canines.
Yeah. Slabs of meat are what we call pod episodes. And canines are our fans.
Here's another slab of meat for you. Ugh. And you're a vegetarian. Wow.
We can start this episode over just like, hey, everybody, welcome to Justin the Kane. Here's another slab of meat for you canines out there.
I think we should start doing it with the Instagram posts, but not telling anyone. So they're like, what?
Yeah, that's good.
For the people who follow us but don't listen, aka my parents.
Oh, wow.
My aunt.
Shots fired.
Multiple cousins, several friends, none of which I'll name, but have all said, oh, yeah, I haven't gotten around to listening to that yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is going to be...
That's the sad reality of having a podcast, I think. You're just learning that. And I've been aware of it just from seeing other people talk about podcasts on the internet, that it's like the sad art form where everybody feels like they're going to be the next Mark Maron, but in fact, they are just the next whatever they're doing because they're their own obscure thing.
Well, there's two ways to become profoundly successful. You had a pre-existing career in the public eye, or you were early to the table, meaning you had a podcast in like 2011 or 10 or whatever.
Right.
Like Jason Bateman and Will Arnett. Yeah. And then Sean somebody. Oh, my God, from Will and Grace. Anyways, Sean Hayes? Yeah, yes. Sean Hayes. The three of them just started a new podcast, and they had ads on their first episode.
Well, there you go.
And that's just because they're famous, you know?
Well, of course. Same with Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, Conan O'Brien, Dax Shepard, Mark Maron, Joe Rogan. I mean, all that stuff. If you're just famous out of the gate, it's pretty easy to get a massive listenership and, you know, get sponsored right out of the gate.
It's wild that Joe Rogan's podcast is like the biggest podcast in the world probably right now.
It is, yeah.
But all of his fans came from later career steps. So I only know him as the guy from News Radio, that sitcom with Phil Hartman and Dave Foley in the 90s. I think it was that, or maybe he was on Just Shoot Me. Anyway, and then he was on the host of Fear Factor in the like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire / Survivor reality show boom of the early 2000s.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, and then he was like an MMA host, and now he's like a podcaster. But I think most of his fans come from the MMA world, which is, I think, why some of the guests he gets are who they are. So,
but he can basically interview anyone at this point. Yeah,
well, he's had Bernie Sanders and Jordan Peterson and whatever. Oops, I shouldn't have said that name. I don't want the bots that like transcribe our podcast to like link us with that.
Yeah, well, it's too late. Your Google Home heard it, so
all right,
the game is over.
Well, now all of our fans are lobsters, not canines anymore.
We'll throw you butter to a lobster. I don't know. What do lobsters eat?
Well, they don't. No, they don't eat butter. They get glazed in butter when you eat them. You silly fool.
I thought they'd eat it so that when you eat them, they're soaked from the inside out in butter and garlic.
Have you ever had lobster?
It's like a turducken. Have I ever had lobster?
Yeah,
multiple times. I'm probably going to guess 7 times in my life.
I've only had it once, and it was via a limited release Subway sandwich.
Oh, you should never eat.
Nasty.
I have 2 rules in my life.
Yes.
Be honest to yourself and the people you love the most, and never eat lobster between 2 pieces of bread. Those are the 2 rules in my life, Mike. And you broke one of them.
Is this the first time you've said that out loud?
Yes.
Do you just think that rule all the time?
I think it all the time, yeah. Oh, no, there's a 3rd rule. Don't eat ribs between bread, too. So the McRib is off the table. But any sandwich with a non-deli meat or chicken breast should not be consumed by people.
It's weird how your rules start like as self-help and then just turn into cookbook.
But
if you released a book,
I love food. I mean, food is the way to somebody's soul. So I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Aren't they related?
Yeah, you're right.
Because to be honest to yourself is to treat yourself well, and one way in which you can do that is with food. A good quality food, and lobster from Subway is not one of those things.
Well, speaking of food, the movie Leprechaun 2 and In the Mood for Love both feature food. So there you go.
That's true. A lot of drinking and eating in both films. Anyways, okay, well, fuck it. Let's get into it. We should contextualize these films. Do you want to start off with Leprechaun 2?
I will.
Great.
So I wrote my little document here that I have is called Lep Facts.
Lep Facts. Nice.
Yeah.
Not Lep 2 Facts.
No. But here's some sweet Lep 2 facts, because that's what they really are. So Leprechaun 2 is the second film in the Leprechaun franchise. The plot,
How many films are there in total?
if you count the reboot, I think there is 7.
Wow.
They just came out with a reboot a couple years ago. And they might be making
Jesus
more.
Christ.
Yeah, so apparently the alternate title is One Wedding and Lots of Funerals. I saw that on Wikipedia. I don't know where that information came out or where they got that, but supposedly that's a fact. The plot of the film is on his 1000th birthday. The evil leprechaun needs a bride, so he says he will marry his slave's daughter. And it it starts back in like the 1800s or whatever. The slave guy frees the daughter, and then Leprechaun says, "I'm going to marry your descendant instead." But anyway, flash forward, he finds the descendant and tries to marry her and also kill all of her suitors, including Cody, who works for a Hollywood tour company, with Morty, a weird, kind of lecherous, money-grubbing guy. And Lep, short for Leprechaun, the fans call him Lep. That's a fact. That's some context.
Really?
Yeah.
The fans.
There's a sizable Leprechaun fan base. It's a cult film now. So anyway, Lep has a pretty big cave that he lives in inexplicably. And then they're constantly just the Leprechaun's trying to kill people randomly, but then also just like disappearing for a while, and nobody seems terribly scared of him. But anyway, they eventually just kill Leprechaun in the end with cast iron or whatever he's not allowed to touch. So
it is cast iron.
Yeah. So he dies. So that's the plot. So anyway, the movie was the last film in the franchise that was released theatrically. The first and the second one were both put in theaters, and then after that, all straight to video. And it made $2.3 million at the box office, which was a significant dip from the previous film, which made $8 million at the box office on a $1 million budget.
Do you know how much the second one was made for?
No, but the budget was higher. So I think it was like they probably just made their money back. But I feel like now they've gone into profit many times over.
With the cult status that it's garnered. Yeah.
Supposedly the film has a 0% Rotten Tomatoes rating. I didn't look, but this is what Wikipedia says.
Because In the Mood for Love has like a 90 something.
Is it 100% or is it 99?
I think it's up there. Let me look it up. Anyways, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
So apparently it holds a 0% Rotten Tomato. LA Times says production values are stepped up from the first, but it's a rehash of the original, is the general consensus. And Warwick Davis says that all of the films after the first one was all done for the money.
But the first one wasn't.
Actually, film company Trimark Pictures wanted to make some movies and get some legitimacy, so they made the first two go to theaters, and then the plan was to go to video on demand, or no, straight to video shortly after. So this was just kind of done as like an easy, cheap movie to get some theatrical clout. Mm-hmm. And apparently the first movie was inspired by the Lucky Charms guy.
Wow.
They were just like, let's make this evil. That was the whole idea.
That is trashy.
Yep. And
what a trashy genesis for a film. Looking at a cereal box.
I know. But I'm sure it's been done since.
Well, B movie was inspired by the Honey Nut Cheerio guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wait, is it?
Yeah,
is
Jerry
that true?
Seinfeld was... No, it's not.
He loved cereal, though. Remember in the show?
Oh, yeah.
He always had cereal. So it might be true, actually. He might have been like, I'm going to make a movie out of this bee.
Well, shit. I think there's a video game with the bee on the internet.
Probably.
Saying video game makes me sound older than I am, I think.
Why? Everybody calls it video game still.
A video game on the internet?
Oh, I see.
Free beta like game on a website that you'd just play for free. Would you call that a video game?
Yes. If it follows the rules of video games, I'd call it a video game.
Okay, well, shit. All right.
There's a game called Chex Quest, I think. You know the cereal Chex?
Yes.
Chex Quest is like a video game that they gave you on a CD-ROM with the cereal. Like there was a time in the 90s, early 2000s where you'd get cereal box and it would come with a compact disc.
Wow.
Or a DVD actually sometimes. So I have a copy of Spy Kids still that I have that came in a cereal box.
Like the movie.
And the movie, yeah. There was a time where you could just get a movie.
That's interesting because, back in the days of being able to purchase DVDs from brick and mortar stores, some DVDs were so expensive. Like when a new film came out, it would be like $25 or $35 or $45 for the first couple of weeks. Well,
for whatever reason, they were giving away DVDs. This was like 2000 probably. This was long after Spy Kids came out, though. So.
Oh, I see. Okay, it wasn't like a new home release.
Yeah, but Chex Quest was a video game based on Chex, but it was like done in the style of Wolfenstein or Doom.
Yeah, so like a shooter.
Yeah, but you shoot Chex.
That's fun.
Yeah, that is a little fun fact. Has nothing to do with Leprechaun. Lots to do with In the Mood for Love, you'll find out. Wong Kar Wai loved Chex Quest.
He does. He loves cereal, too. He was looking at a cereal box in Hong Kong, and he thought about this film.
Oh, wow.
He noticed how in his cereal bowl, there were two pieces of cereal that kept brushing but never stopped at one another. They just kept kind of circulating in vortexes, and then they would reach each other and then keep moving. Yeah. And he thought, what if those were people? Yeah. And what if they were married? And what if their spouses were having an affair with each other?
And they could never be together as much as
they could never be together because they didn't want to repeat the same sins of their respective spouses.
And they were both married to marshmallows.
Yes, they were. And the whole film, every time it rains, similar to Singing in the Rain, it's just 3% milk just pouring out of the rain towers. Yeah. So they're drenched in milk throughout most of that film. That's why they say, the weather's strange. It's because they're getting drenched in milk.
Fascinating. So it's all
watch
cereal.
The movie, people. It's really good.
So where were we? Oh, yeah. The Lep movies were inspired by Lucky Charms. Leprechaun 2, or as the fans call it, Lep 2, or Lep Deuce. Deucey-Lep, they call it.
Deucey-Lep. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Deucey-Lep was supposed to be, the movie was supposed to be where Warwick Davis plays a female leprechaun. So it was like, basically it follows a different leprechaun, like Leprechaun's wife, but it was going to be Warwick Davis in drag for some reason. So that's not how they made the movie, though. This was the plan of the original director.
Do you know why it was vetoed?
Because it was made by completely different people. Like the original director of the first movie, that was his idea. And then they gave it to Rodman Flender.
Right.
Clearly a real
Maverick
name.
Filmmaker.
Yes. Warwick Davis, some facts about him. I mean, that guy has got some wild credits. I mean, he's in all of the Star Wars movies pretty much. Like everyone from Return of the Jedi on, I think. He was in Harry Potter. He was in Willow, starring role in Willow, and of course the Leprechaun films. So he always was. He loved making these films. He has like a weird obsession or like attachment to them. I think it's because it was just a lot of fun to make the movies. He really liked like the lightheartedness. Plus, he also liked playing a villain.
Right.
Oh, he was also like thinking about quitting acting before the Leprechaun movie got offered to him. Because he made Willow in like 1988, and then there was like he had a real dry spell. So I think for 2 or 3 years, he was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I kind of just had like a real lucky streak, and now my career is over. But they just kind of randomly offered him Leprechaun, and then it just kind of revitalized his career. And now he's like in Harry Potter and stuff. So he's doing okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how many franchises he's a part of.
Oh, I know. And also like that was like, I mean, Star Wars was big, but it's not like the weird behemoth it is now. I'm sure he was getting some like residual checks from Star Wars, but it's probably not like what he's getting now. So
definitely.
Lep 3 was the highest selling direct-to-video film of 1995. So once it went straight to video, basically just turned into a money printing machine. They made a remake of it recently with Warwick Davis was not in it, much to his dismay. And they got like a WWE wrestler to be in it as the main Leprechaun, and it was produced by the WWE as well. So it's kind of a weird...
That's really fucking weird.
Kind of weird side thing about it, yeah. But the other Leprechaun movies, the first one has Jennifer Aniston in it, and that's like her first movie role, and also like... And it was a big movie for Warwick Davis in the film company that made it. But then Leprechaun 3, he goes to Vegas. Leprechaun 4, he goes to outer space. Leprechaun in space. Leprechaun 5 and 6 are both in the hood, with number 5 starring Ice-T and number 6 just kind of being a rehash of number 5, because apparently they found out that they had a fairly big African-American following. So so they made 5 and 6 in the hood just to cater to that audience, supposedly. Which was, kind of a cool choice that they were just like, hey, people like this movie. Let's just make this movie for them instead of let's just make them go somewhere else stupid. Like it has a cult following with a lot of people having St. Patrick's Day marathons, obviously. So it makes sense.
It'd be fun to do them all in one day.
Would it though? Like I thought this movie was kind of fun to watch, but also not fun to watch, as is always the case with the bad movies on the show.
Its levity, but it was painful in how little happened, considering it was on for an hour and 30 to 40 minutes.
It wasn't even 90 minutes, which I liked.
Oh yeah, it was like 82 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it was like a tight 82 minutes or whatever the heck it was. Also, Warwick Davis took him 3 hours to apply the makeup every day and an hour to take it off. So he had 4 hours of makeup, which must have been a real pain in the butt.
He still enjoyed making the movie.
But he still loved it. Yeah, he still loved it. I think he just like, getting to wear makeup, playing a villain, being kind of like a comedian.
Yeah, and like shooting the shit with the crew. Like the sets are ridiculous. Yeah. And everyone's having a good time. And what's the old guy's name? The weird lecherous old dude? Morty, that actor, I IMDb'd him while I was watching the movie, and he's had kind of an interesting career of bit roles, and he seems like he's dead now, but like if I ever met him, he seems like he would be a really fun person to just shoot the shit with.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
He'd have a lot of wacky stories. He seems like the kind of guy who would just like party a lot in the 50s, in Hollywood. And
I wonder if he was super famous. As I was watching it, I was wondering if he was famous or something, because I was like, I recognize this guy, but I'm sure I just saw him in a million straight-to-video movies in the 90s.
That's what it was, I think. Yeah, I also looked at him and I was like, he looks eerily familiar, but he had a million bit roles. So
that's all of the facts I got about Deucey-Lep.
Sweet. All right. In the Mood for Love, Wong Kar Wai's either fifth or sixth collaboration with cinematographer Christopher Doyle, who's an interesting guy in and of himself. He is an Australian cinematographer with no formal training who moved to Hong Kong, learned how to speak the language, and has just never left since, which is kind of neat. And he's had a really prolific career, considering he's a very unconventional cinematographer. So he's kind of interesting. And he and Wong Kar Wai have made some wonderful films together.
They make Chungking Express.
Yeah, he shot Chungking Express, half of 2046. Anyways, they've made 7 films together. And Wong Kar Wai is an interesting director. He doesn't use scripts. He takes an excruciatingly long amount of time to make his films. And they're often all revered. I mean, he's a very popular director, sort of in the art house world. He's not the most commercial director, but everything he makes really does well in festival circuits. In the Mood for Love is about a couple in 1960s Hong Kong. And it's about two couples moving into apartments side by side. They're renting rooms. And then so we have Mrs. Chan, whose husband is always away for work. And then we have Mr. Chow, whose wife is always away for work. And it turns out that their respective spouses are, from what we think, watching the film, they're having an affair with one another.
He is.
And we figure that out as the film goes on. And then these two find friendship and solace in each other as they try to heal from that pain. And then as their relationship blossoms, they try to rehearse and reenact what maybe their partners had done with each other. And they do this kind of like retracing process to try and understand why it happened. And in that process, they fall in love. But the first rule that they laid out for each other was that they wouldn't repeat what their partners had done to them. And then they fall in love, so they have to part ways. It's a very tragic, beautiful, nuanced film, and it really just tackles monogamy as a concept.
And they improvise the whole thing, so there's a lot of yes-anding the whole time. They were playing a lot of... Wong Kar Wai got them to play some improv games early in the morning at the beginning of every shoot day. They're just playing Zip Zap Zop.
And Ahsoka every morning.
Yeah.
And Big Booty.
Yeah, playing.
And then... And then they would do the scenes. Although apparently, Mike, in the earlier iterations of the film, because they kept reshooting scenes over and over again, which was infuriating for the crew and Christopher Doyle, but that's how Wong Kar Wai does it, so that's how they're going to do it.
He's the Christopher Guest of China.
Wow, he really is. The film was much more overt in its romance, and it was much more lighthearted and much louder in its sort of tone about romance. And then as they started making the film, they started whittling it down and they made the tone more nuanced. He deleted all the scenes of the couple having the affair. Mm-hmm. And made it such a minimal film, but apparently there's just like thousands and thousands of hours of footage that will never be seen because Wong Kar Wai basically improvised this whole film, and then he had a shitload of footage. And then he figured out the tone. But it's interesting, while they're shooting, they're basically just rehearsing, which is cool.
Warner would not be pleased with this because filmmakers are not garbage collectors.
It's interesting, though. When you collect garbage, sometimes you find something nice in the garbage, like a wristwatch, Contigo water bottle. And I think that's what Wong Kar Wai did here. He found some really nice nugs out of the rubble.
That's very specific.
It's because I'm wearing a watch and there's a Contigo water bottle beside me.
And you got them from a dumpster.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm living on a budget. I don't know if you know this, but there's a global pandemic.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know
that. So there was no script. This was submitted to the 2000 Cannes Film Festival, and it was being edited and shot within a week of its debut at that festival. So talk about cutting it close.
That's probably not the only movie that's like that. One time, somebody asked me to help him edit a movie that was going to a film festival somewhere.
And it was like the next day?
It was like he was getting on a plane in 2 days, and they needed to they're just like, we need some extra editors on something. And it wasn't in like a big movie or anything, but it was like, it was bigger than most of the stuff that I've worked on. So I was surprised.
Right.
This person was cutting it so close, but
that's crazy. And like, it can take 2 days just to export.
Yeah. I mean, if your movie's 90 minutes, it can take you a long time. So what's your plan? Probably exporting on the plane or something like insane like that. Yeah,
just like a laptop that's red hot in a shoulder bag and it's just screaming because all the fans are on.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, you and I both. The title translated means flowery years or something like a new blossom or new blossoming. But then the English language title comes from a song, and Wong Kar Wai was talking to, I think, the director of the Cannes Film Festival, and he had all these names. He was going to call it Secrets. He was going to call it Love and Food or something like that. All these names were kind of dog shit, in my opinion. But then the director was like, you need to do something else. And then he heard this song while he was editing within a week, and he's like, ooh, In the Mood for Love. That's a great title.
Yeah, if you watch the trailer, that song is like the main jam.
Yes. And he used the song, in the original Hong Kong trailer. It's used. There's also 3 songs by Nat King Cole in the film. It's starring Maggie Chung and Tony Leung, and then Tony Leung went on to be in 2046 as well. Also, there's a shot of a hotel room door, and the number is 2046, which is kind of interesting. Not dissimilar to THX 1138 as a license plate in American Graffiti. The film was filmed in Hong Kong, Bangkok, Angkor Wat, Cambodia, and it kind of jumped all over the place. Like, it was supposed to be 1960s Hong Kong, but Hong Kong, when they filmed it in 1999 and 98, looked nothing like the 60s. So they had to go to Bangkok because there were older parts of that city in Thailand that looked reminiscent of what Hong Kong looked like 40 years prior.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of moving around, yeah. And Christopher Doyle, the cinematographer, had to leave production because they ran over schedule because they were improvising a fucking movie. And so there ended up being 3 cinematographers. I'm going to say these names poorly, just so everyone knows. So it started off with Christopher Doyle, and then he left. And then we had Peng Long Quan, who I think shot most of it. And there is a noticeable difference. Like, Christopher Doyle was really into the weird camera movements, which you see throughout the early half of the film.
Yes.
And then Peng Long Quan was more of he liked long shots, static shots. He was much more into composition. And then also Ping Bin Lee did some cinematography on it, but I don't think very much, maybe just a few shots here and there. But it's interesting. I will say the cinematography is very lavish. It's lovely. The colors, wonderful. The sort of hue and saturation's great. There's a mixture of color tones and color temperature in many of the shots. It's very like dirty and urban, which is fun. And there's a lot of nighttime cinematography and just a lot of things, a lot of strategies were used to make it a very beautiful film. And that's kind of Christopher Doyle's bag. You know, he loves sodium vapor. He loves mercury vapor. He loves fluorescence. He loves incandescent. He likes mixing all those fixtures within a single shot to make for an interesting sort of composition.
He loves to vape, is what you're saying.
Dude loves to vape. He is a cigarette smoker, I believe. Also, some great shots of cigarette smoke.
Yeah, there's some good smoking in this movie.
Yeah, it made me want to smoke a cigarette. I'm not going to lie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just like Leprechaun made me want to
eat Lucky Charms.
Eat Lucky Charms and drink Irish whiskey.
Oh, nice. What is it in the movie when it's just Coca-Cola watered down? What's that called? Red whiskey?
Is that what happens in this movie?
In Leprechaun 2, yeah. Remember, he's like, the bartender gives him Coca-Cola.
Right. Yeah,
because there's the drinking scene with Leprechaun, and he drinks them under the table or whatever.
That's right. Morty and Lep have a drink off.
Morty and Lep. I love that his name is Leprechaun.
Well, they don't.
That's what he is.
They don't name him. He doesn't have a real name in the movie, and the fans call him Lep. And when you look him up on the internet, it either says Leprechaun or Evil Leprechaun.
Interesting.
So there you
I
go.
love like Warwick Davis on Inside the Actor's Studio, and James Lipton is like, I want to talk to you about your role. Your titular role is Lep. How was it playing him 6 separate times? Anywho, fuck it. I think that's everything I have for In the Mood for Love. First time seeing it, long time fan.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
How is it watching that sweet Criterion Blu-ray?
Good. I think the DVD is a higher resolution than my TV because it's a Blu-ray and my TV is 720, but it's lavish. It's lovely.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It also felt good. I know we were talking about how I listen to ones and zeros. It felt good to put a disc in a machine.
I know.
And have a menu, and there's something really pleasant about that. And I could hear the disc spinning.
Yeah.
It just felt good,
Yeah, I think movie technology kind of like hit its peak right in the a couple of years ago, where Blu-rays were like still a thing people bought, and then Blu-ray players were cheap, but then also 4K TVs were available, so you could get a good cheapish 4K TV that upscaled a Blu-ray player, so you didn't have to invest in like a 4K Blu-ray thing, which is like more of a novelty now than a thing people want to buy.
Mhm.
Like, you try and buy a Blu-ray or a 4K DVD of something, and it's cost you $35, and they only make action movies pretty much.
Yeah, and it comes with like a digital copy too.
Yeah, and when you stream stuff on streaming sites, sometimes like the internet kind of craps out a little bit, so it all kind of just looks pixelated and gross. Whereas a Blu-ray will never fail you unless it gets scratched. But
oh, by the way, I scratched your Blu-ray.
No.
In the Mood for Love. Yeah. I enjoyed the film so much, I wanted to take it outside and just have it, and then I dropped it, I stepped on it, then a car drove over it, and then a skunk sharted on it.
No, damn.
Yeah. So I opened it up, and it seems fine. Okay. I mean, it's in little pieces, but I glued it together. I put it in my Blu-ray player, and I can't get it out, but I think it'll be fine. I'm going to drop it in your mailbox in a couple of days once I fish it out of the Blu-ray player. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for lending it to me for this episode. And for my education.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, Blu-ray is the way to go. Thanks, Criterion.
I'm pro. I might start ordering the odd movie off the Criterion website, store, wherever you bought it. I can't remember.
Well, we don't need to do any advertising. There's a store in Canada called Unobstructed View.
In Toronto, right?
In Toronto, yeah. And you can order Blu-rays and stuff off of there. And they do Criterions, but they also will do like horror. Anyway, so yeah, that's a place to get it in Canada. But I got all those Blu-rays the other day on sale because I had a sale in July.
Right.
They had a Criterion sale just to match the Barnes & Noble one in the States. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, just like...
Which is cool.
Go on Amazon or something, maybe. But yeah, those ones are like $30 or $20 each. Whereas normally they're like 40 or 50. So I would just wait for a sale, but also Criterion's the creeps will tell you that, a lot of Criterion people just buy things blind, where they just will be like, I want to see this movie. And so they just buy the Blu-ray regardless of whether they think it'll be good. And they spend $50 on it, whereas they would never do that with a movie.
$50 on Salo. Yeah,
whereas they would never buy like a movie that they liked for $30. But because it's a Criterion, it has that special kind of like, appeal. I wanted to get the Fellini box set, which is like $250.
That would be great, though. Man, we should do another Fellini movie soon.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to do that, but then I was like, that's the Criterion spell. They just get you. They want you. You just want to buy stuff. Even again, this was a movie, Stalker and In the Mood for Love, both two movies I've never seen before. Buying them. Mm-hmm.
But they have a reputation.
Yeah. And I got this one cheap, at least. I got In the Mood for Love cheap in LA, I think. So
that's good.
Anyway, that was something that won't be interesting. We'll cut that out, but
no, leave it all in.
Oh no.
That's a big slab of meat for the canines.
Well, they love it. Woof woof.
Yeah. Bark bark, baby. All right, let's get into some similarities there, Mike. I'm going to start us off, okay? Both films, as sort of a centerpiece location where lots of drama happens, is in a small apartment, okay? This is a twofold in terms of Leprechaun. And In the Mood for Love. So In the Mood for Love, obviously, we have the two couples moving into side-by-side apartments. And then within that, there's a lot of drama, the story unfolds, sexual tension, infidelity, blah, blah, blah. And Lep 2 as...
Deucey-Lep.
Deucey-Lep, yeah. Deucey-Lep.
That's canon.
Morty and the blonde guy.
Cody.
So Cody and Morty live together in that small kind of hip apartment. And then I would also say Leprechaun's digs are like a small apartment. They're just underground.
The Lep pad, they call it.
The Lep pad. Yeah. Quite a literal sleigh pad, if you will.
Truly.
Yeah, I think Lep has a real sleigh pad. But yeah. So both films have a lot of the story unfold within confines that are either literally apartments, because they're above or below other structures, or an underground tunnel sleigh pad situation within a tree.
Very good. That's a good way to start. I'll go next, that being the only other host of the show. So both films quite succinctly are both about the search for forbidden love, or they're both about forbidden love.
Yes,
because Lep wants the descendant of, I guess, his slave's daughter to marry for some reason. Like, he's just so dead set on that. And then in the mood for love is like, that's the whole thing. You heard the plot synopsis. I don't need to break this down.
That's good. Both films have a roommates situation. So this is sort of an adjacent comparison to the one I made previously. I don't know if you heard it, but it's the one just before the one Mike just did. So there's obviously the roommate situation and in the mood for love, because both couples rent rooms, not the whole apartment.
Right.
And Morty and Chris?
Sure.
Cody.
Right.
Morty
Cody
and
Rick?
Cody. Sure.
Morty and Rick?
Just keep changing it up. Morty and Cody are roommates. They're obviously not family.
No, they're I think they're coworkers. They're colleagues.
Wow, what an age gap. My goodness. Cody likes them old, I guess.
Well, their love of creepy Hollywood history, I guess, is what bonded them. They have that business where they drive around and show people like houses where celebrities died, I think.
Yeah, and that coffin mobile, the hearse. Anywho, so yeah, there's roommates in both films, and the roommates are sort of a backdrop of important characters that fuel the plot and the drama.
Lep has a roommate himself, like that skeleton who comes to life occasionally. Like, they're technically roommates.
That's a great point. And the skeleton is the great grandfather or whatever.
Is it?
Yeah. There's a scene. He's like, "Oh, this is so and so, blah blah blah," and it's the guy from the opening of the film, the prologue.
Oh, so they're roommates now. That's fun.
You know, it's funny. So that guy could have gotten out of it if he had let Leprechaun marry his daughter, and then he said no, and then he ended up being trapped by him anyways, even though he was going to get his daughter when he turned 1,000. I guess his like great granddaughter or whatever. Pretty crazy. I mean, it's really a no-win situation for that guy.
Well, it might have been cool to have Lep as in the fam. I mean, he's got a lot of money. He's got
but he's so frugal.
I know. He's very frugal. He just always wants his pot of gold, but he doesn't say what he's going to do with it. Nothing, probably.
No, well, he's a hoarder. I mean, he's a classic example of a hoarder. I think he's definitely got that tendency in him. Anywho, so roommates. Both films have multiple roommates.
Yes, they do. I'll just go the next. So actually, both films are films in a franchise. So this is Leprechaun 2 is part 2 in a Leprechaun series, and In the Mood for Love is part 1 in a two-part series, I guess, with 2046 being a like spiritual sequel.
Technically, it's actually the second installment in a quadrilogy.
Really? And there are 4 of these movies?
Yeah, and the 4th one is coming out in 2020.
Oh, what's the 3rd one?
It's an informal tetraology. So Days of Being Wild is 1990, right. And then 2046, and then the upcoming film is called Blossoms in 2020.
Right, but did 2046 come out after In the Mood for Love?
It did, 4 years later, yeah.
Oh, so they're both the second in a series.
Holy shit.
And also, I read that all of the Leprechaun movies are like loosely connected. Like, it's not the same Leprechaun in each movie. Warwick Davis plays the Leprechaun, but it's not the same one.
Right. Like, it's the same universe, but it's a different... Yeah, it's more of a spiritual franchise than a literal, plot franchise. Yeah, because
they take place in different cities, and usually in America for some reason, even though he's Irish. But then... I know. They're all loosely connected. So there's a connection there.
That's cool. Nice. Well, that one worked out.
Yeah, that did. We kind of just stumbled ass backwards onto that one.
This one, feel free to disagree, but
I disagree.
Films. Okay, I'm not even going to finish the sentence then. All right, moving on. What's your next?
That was the episode. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, see ya. I hope you enjoyed that hunk of meat.
Chow down, Kanines.
Chow down on that raw hunk of meat that we just threw on the sidewalk.
Enjoy the slab.
The slab, yeah. Both films have lavish cinematography. Can I say that?
No, but go on.
I think Leprechaun 2 has bizarrely lavish cinematography in certain scenes, considering how low budget and sloppy it is as a film.
Yes.
There are scenes that have very moody, sexy lighting.
I agree.
And In the Mood for Love, the whole film is this like lavish eye candy. I mean,
yeah.
They don't overuse color, which I thought both films don't overuse hue and saturation in colors. Like they're not gelling all the lights red the whole fucking time or whatever.
Yeah.
And so both films do that. I think there is a similar restraint to the cinematography is maybe what I should say. But then there are select scenes that have like this high contrast, high saturation, beautiful sort of look and aesthetic to it for certain emotional scenes.
Yeah.
Fight me, Kanines.
Leprechaun or Deucey-Lep definitely in the night scenes had some they used a lot of like colors just to kind of give it some more definition. And also in his Lep pad, there was like a lot of
the Lep pad.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting lighting choices. And also I also found that it had some really soft lighting in some of the interiors. Like there was a lot of it just kind of looked like modern lighting. It didn't look like 90s lighting. So it wasn't as shadowy as it normally would have looked. It was like the very, very evenly lit, very soft light on some of the people. And I kind of made me confused as to when this movie was shot. I thought it was shot in 2008, but no, it's 1994.
I know. The cinematography at times was bizarrely competent and artful.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it was great, but I thought it was interesting how much the movie used handheld wide angle kind of camera work. They have a wide angle lens. Yeah, on Deucey-Lep. There'd be a lot of
Deucey-Lep, yeah.
You say it so seriously. Yeah, Deucey-Lep, right. There'd be a lot of parts where they'd slap a wide angle lens on there and then they'd just get up real close, or they would follow somebody as they walked.
Yeah,
it seemed kind of strange given the time. I don't think I remember seeing a lot of movies like that back in the 90s.
Well, that's quite a that's an interesting move because there's so much distortion, and you have a shaky operator walking with the film camera on their shoulder, trying to get these either POV shots or just very cinema verite sort of action shots. But if you throw a really wide lens on, the distortion is crazy. It really calls attention to itself. But it can be quite beautiful and atmospheric too, you know.
Well, they got a lot of good close-ups of Lep. That was the thing. You always got, whenever he was talking, they got really close in there with the camera a lot of the time. I was going to say very intimate, not unlike In the Mood for Love.
I think both tackle intimacy too. And actually, my next point is both films have established romantic relationships that are strained by external people. So you have In the Mood for Love, obviously, these two couples are sort of being corroded and destroyed by an affair. In Deucey-Lep, you have
nice. The official
relationship. Title. Yeah, Deucey-Lep, the second installment. You have Cody and the blonde lady. They're an established romantic relationship, but then he won't go go-karting because he's trying to make a little Skrilla for him and Morty. And that puts a strain on their relationship. And then Lep shows up and he throws a wrench into the situation and he establishes a relationship with Brittany or Bianca. Bridget. Okay, Bridget and Cody. Very nice. Very 90s names.
Truly, yes.
But he is the affair. Now she's having an affair with him. Obviously, she is not consenting. It's a very sick relationship. Nothing healthy or safe about it. Lep needs to go to therapy. He's got some shit to work out. He's definitely toxically masculine, and
yes, I agree.
Needs to sort of tackle those concepts that I think he was raised with. I mean, he's 1,000 years old. You can't, with your grandparents, sometimes they say unsavory things or they have unsavory beliefs, and sometimes you choose to have a conversation about it, and other times you write it off.
Yeah.
And with him, it's tough because I'm not sure he can die.
Well, he did die at the end, didn't they? They locked him in that safe. Spoiler alert.
No.
They killed him with that. No?
He lives because that golden coin is left in the dirt. And that is the essence of his being.
Oh.
So I believe he lives, but I could be wrong. I briefly fell asleep while watching Leprechaun 2,
yes.
so I'm not totally clear. Bit fuzzy. Anyways, both films deal with strained love relationships.
That's a love quadrangle.
Yes.
It's a love quadrangle.
Well, both films have love quadrangles because you have the two couples in the mood for love, and they're all kind of, they're all fucking or kissing or reenacting or whatever, And then in Deucey-Lep, you have Cody and Bridget, Lep, Morty, and there is a fifth character in this film.
Morty's not romancing anybody.
I would say he is. You can have it's not a romantic love, but it's a deep, passionate love, and he has it for Cody, and Cody has it for Morty.
Well, who's the fifth character?
The fifth character is the Pot of Gold.
Oh yes, right, of course.
Yeah, not dissimilar to New York City and Sex and the City or any countless romantic comedy made between 1988 and now.
Mm-hmm.
But. Yeah, it's the Pot of Gold. That is the fifth character, and it is steals the show. Scenes.
It's wild how New York is the fifth character of Sex and the City, but Liverpool isn't the fifth Beatle.
Wow, no, Berlin isn't it?
Hamburg.
Hamburg.
I guess Hamburg would be
that's where they got their shit together. Yeah.
So that's the fifth Beatle. We've decided. Pete Best, you're out. Stuart Sutcliffe, hit the dirt.
I'd love if you could just keep name dropping producers and studio
Brian Epstein,
engineers and shit. Nice.
Get out of here.
I'm into this. This is good. We should do a Beatles mini-sode.
Oh, I wanted to do Magical Mystery Tour, remember?
Yeah.
I have it on VHS. Hard Day's Night rocks. I love that movie.
I have it on double DVD.
Same.
Bought it from HMV for $15 back in the day.
That's a Criterion, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it. It's their best film, like you said. Yeah. Actually, we should do that, but that's neither here nor there. I digress.
Do you have a... Yeah, so both films are about work-life balance.
Yeah.
Because the characters are... the guy, at least in the mood for love, is always kind of overworking himself. He's always going to his workplace, plus their couples. Plus their partners are off doing stuff, and then they're cheating on each other because they're on a work trip or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then in Deucey-Lep,
Deucey-Lep, yeah.
Cody is having trouble with Bridget because he's always working. He skips out on a date so that he can do one of those dumb tours, and then also Lep himself is constantly you think he's going after Bridget because he's in love, but then really his job, I guess, is killing, and so he's always off working instead of hanging out with his future wife. You'd think that if you were trying to score, you would hang out, but he's just no, I'm gonna just lock her up and then go and do classic Lep stuff.
Do my business.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and he grabs his equivalent of a briefcase, pot of gold.
Yeah.
His equivalent of a 2-piece suit before you head to Wall Street, but it's his leprechaun outfit, his cute green suit thing.
Yeah. Instead of having wingtip shoes, he puts on a little buckle shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got a sort of a pilgrim belt and hat.
And sometimes he has a cane and sometimes he doesn't. He uses the cane to hit people, but then also later in that same scene, he's not carrying it. It just kind of appears when he needs to.
If I may.
You may.
Both films, costuming wise, there is a visual and a symbolic similarity between the two films regarding props. Okay. So both films have heavy emphasis in multiple scenes involving a pot. So you've got Deucey-Lep's pot of gold, and this is obviously his
name's not Deucey-Lep. His name is not Leprechaun 2.
I thought his first name was Deucey. Gary Deucey, just maybe, Deucey and Lep.
Go on.
Okay, we'll just call him Leprechaun. Whatever, Mike.
No, it's Lep, and then Leprechaun 2, the movie is Deucey-Lep. But now go on. I'll just cut out all that goofy stuff.
No. Keep it in. People need to know the truth.
Okay, but I'm bullying you.
Yes. Anyways, Lep has this pot of gold, and in the mood for love, the two protagonists have multiple, very brief interactions while picking up noodles, and they use like a pot to carry the noodles. And then as their relationship blossoms and they become more comfortable and intimate with each other, they start eating together, and they use this same pot. And it sort of is the thing that allows them to bridge their relationship,
right,
and bridge the gap and the void between them. And everything is around vessels. Like they're drinking tea, they're eating soup, they're eating noodles, they're around a table. And that's similar to, I think, why Lep does what he does in the film. His motivation derives from his obsession with his gold. I mean,
yeah.
If he didn't have gold, if he didn't have worldly possessions, he wouldn't have the instinct he has or the motivation he has to get Bridget.
Yes.
He wouldn't be so obsessive, and he wouldn't be so domineering, but it's because of this pot of gold. In a way, I think he's encumbered by his wealth. You know what I mean?
I'll agree with that.
I think he's a classic example of how when people can get to a certain amount of wealth, they feel trapped by their wealth. They feel trapped by their possessions. Their house is too big. They have too many cars. Oh, now they have staff, and that's kind of where he's at. And it's a slippery slope.
Is staff being the skeleton?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have gardeners, and some people have a skeleton in their room, basement, wherever he is.
His Lep pad, or his
the Lep Slape pad.
His Deucey cave.
His Deucey cave. Yeah. There we go. They pots and vehicles or vessels holding things are really important to character motivation and character dynamic changing throughout the film.
Nice. Gotta say, I've got a little leprechaun in my Deucey cave, if you know what I mean.
That is fucking disgusting.
Good stuff.
By the way, I just made that pot one up right now.
That was good. That was very good. Very
top of
complex.
Minog.
Top of Minog to ye.
Whoa, jeez.
Okay, here's a short one. At one point in Leprechaun 2, or Deucey-Lep, as the Lep fans call it, lepers.
Deucey-Lep, yeah.
The lepers, at one point in Deucey. At what point
okay, continue. Sorry.
Deucey-Lepers. At one point in Deucey-Lep, he offers Bridget a little Irish whiskey to put you in the mood. ...
Yeah.
For love.
In the mood for loving.
So that's all that one is.
That's great. That one is actually a lovely comparison.
Thank you. But also, he was being very menacing, so it wasn't lovely in the scene. But
yeah, but love is complicated, man. I mean, there's ups and downs, right? And I think both films illustrate the trials and tribulations of love and how it can manifest in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's true.
You always go in optimistic, but then as the years go by, you can really get bogged down by the attrition of a long-term monogamist relationship. Monogamous relationship.
I think it's just monogamous.
Monogamous relationship. Thank you.
Monogamous.
Anywho.
Monogamous.
Both films involve peering into spaces and have very voyeuristic cinematography and camera work. So you have in The Mood for Love, there's a lot of very deliberate camera choices to illustrate how small the hallways are, how crowded the streets are, how trapped the characters are. And in Deucey-Lep, that is also illustrated by the POV work illustrating
nice.
Lep's point of view, because he's always hiding in bushes and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking at Cody and Bridget and Morty and that guy who tries to have sex with Bridget and then gets eaten by a lawnmower or something.
I don't know what it is. It's just a bunch of
spinning blades.
Spinning blades that are around boob height.
Yeah, yeah.
What a surprise that was. That guy must have been really surprised when he got his face shredded off.
I would be surprised. Imagine trying to explain that to the ER doctor. Yikes. Woof.
I thought they were boobs.
So yeah, both films involve peering and voyeurism and sort of distant perspective.
Nice.
To the action that's unfolding.
Well, yeah, because the voyeuristic kind of views in The Mood for Love, they kind of were based around the just concept of them living in this little apartment building. It always seemed like they were being watched because they were going on this, they're having this relationship kind of behind closed doors. So they were always, it kind of felt like they were always being watched, but also it added a layer of intimacy to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also the kind of tight camera work in The Mood for Love, it also plays into the theme of like oppression. I think that they were feeling like oppressed by like their, because they were in tight spaces all the time, and the camera work's really like kind of tight, and they're always squeezed. The camera's always like hiding in a nook, it seems like.
Yeah, and they're squeezed socially too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, this worry about gossip and social isolation and ostracization, it's tough, and I think that's shown visually.
Yeah, and in Deucey-Lep, I mean, to say nothing of the fact that the Leprechaun, for some reason, had a slave at one point. I mean, that's clearly oppression, but also everybody just felt oppressed by the work life, or they felt oppressed by just a leprechaun chasing them constantly. They never knew who the leprechaun was.
If I may, Mike, both films have literal moments of being trapped. Mm-hmm. So in Deucey-Lep, Bridget is literally trapped. She can't get out. She's chained. The skeleton's fucking her up. She can't figure out how to get out. She's disoriented. And the two protagonists in The Mood for Love, they're having dinner together in one of their rooms. And unexpected and unbeknownst to them, all of their roommates get home early. And because of social pressure and expectation, they can't leave, and they end up being in there for over a day,
right,
waiting for people to leave so that she can safely go back to her room in her apartment. So both films kind of show a woman trapped in a space. Obviously the causation's a little different, but they're both trapped, and it takes quite a while to get out.
Well, there are and if they're like going back to Lep, he's like he's oppressed too by he's oppressed by how culture views him as a leprechaun. Like he feels pressure to drink. He's always drinking whiskey, Irish whiskey, but then also like he takes on Morty in the drinking contest because he thinks
and the only reason he drinks is because everyone in the room screams at him to drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of awful if you think about it. I mean, what if Lep was trying to quit, you know what I mean? Or he was on the first step of AA or something, like he was on a personal journey to be in a bar. Obviously, you wouldn't go to a bar if you were in AA, but imagine being put in that situation. It's just awful. Yeah, that social pressure.
I got us just pause to like show some appreciation for the scene where Lep gets like hammered. And I mean, it's a pretty long scene. It felt very interminable, but also there was I love the part where he tries to summon like a ashtray to hit Morty in the head. So he's like just drunkenly using his powers, and he just like kind of fails because he's so hammered, and he calls himself like a leprechaun. He tries to do a leprechaun limerick, but he can't rhyme because he's so drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. It was good that they
was great.
Had a little bit of levity with like Lep having some booze.
It is fun. It was a fun sort of subversion of expectation to get your antagonist drunk in a slasher horror movie. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. I thought that was kind of a cool move. Like it'd be cool to like get Freddy drunk in your dream, you know, like you, Inception style. You're like, I gotta drug Freddy. Like I gotta fuck him up so that he's not gonna murder me in my sleep, you know? Kind of a fun fun move on their part for Deucey-Lep.
Just get Freddy Kreuger really high on MDMA. Just be like, we're gonna go party, man. We're gonna go to a rave, and he's just like, yeah, bitch, let's do it. And he just goes dancing, and he's like, I don't know why I was trying to kill you, man. I love you, man.
Imagine if he funneled all of that energy and aggression into some other physical pursuit. You know what I mean? Like, what if he became a really competent gymnast or a skateboarder, or he became like a cliff climber or a skydiver? I mean, Freddy could have been so many things similar to Lep, and they both, I think, fell because of expectation and story plot. You know, they fell into a trap.
I want to make a movie that's like a remake. Or maybe it's a sequel, like a sequel to the 80s Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yeah.
So it's got Freddy Kreuger, like OG Freddy Kreuger, not the remake one.
Yeah.
And he basically, in a dream, somebody's like, Freddy, we got to take you to a therapist. And then he takes Freddy to a therapist in the dream, or in the dream world here. Mm-hmm. And then Freddy talks to the therapist, and the therapist is like, yeah, Freddy, you got to like channel you have extreme rage issues. You're basically homicidal at this point. So we have to channel this into something else. So Freddy like does a lot of work. He lapses a few times. It's like a 4-hour movie. It's like really long. Yeah. He lapses a few times, kills a few people accidentally, but then he like eventually gets back into it, gets like sober relative to like murdering people, whatever that's called when you stop murdering people with your claw hand. And and then he gets he basically just channels his murderous rage into a different activity, and it's skateboarding, as you said. So basically, like the last half of the movie is kind of like a skateboard competition kind of movie where they're just like, we have to save the community center, and Freddy's like, all right, let's do this, bitches. And then he does some sick half pipe things and like is doing ollies all the time and whatnot. He ollies over Lep.
Wins some prize money, puts it into something that isn't to serve himself.
Yeah. And they save the community center at the end. They save the Elm Street Community Center.
Wow. Have you seen that picture? It's of somebody dressed as Freddy Kreuger. I think it's on a movie set, and the guy is squatting, smoking a cigarette, and then the post says, too busy chasing people in their dreams, forgot to chase my own.
That's good.
It's a good bit. I love inverting like character arcs. It's kind of a fun thing to do.
I mean,
that's where a lot of sketches are born.
Yes, it's true.
Makes sense.
I wish that I wish I lived in a world where I could sincerely go and pitch like a Freddy Kreuger drama, skateboarding drama.
Like a sport movie with Freddy Kreuger. The Blind Side with Freddy Kreuger.
Yeah, if only Freddy Kreuger was
Sandra Bullock as his like role model character.
Yeah.
She wins another Oscar.
I mean, I guess you could do that with, like, I don't know, what's a character that is public domain now, like Dracula or Frankenstein?
Oh, yeah, you could do that.
Or Frankenstein's monster, sorry. Yeah, you could do that with...
Dumbass, come on.
King Kong, he's probably not...
No, I don't think so. I think it depends, because if the estate of... Like, the estate can renew copyrights, can't they?
Yeah.
Or, whatever it's called. I don't know. Yeah, Dracula is wide open. Or vampires, anyways.
It's not the same, though. The novelty of having a character that people are familiar with, skateboarding and doing ollies, especially if there's like a cameo by Lep where he does an ollie over Lep.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Or if Lep was like, I got some moves too.
Oh, yeah, and he pulls out a skateboard.
Yeah.
He's both skating. He's like the wee man of the group.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any other ones?
Third last one, both reference the past within the film. So in The Mood for Love, you have, I think it's 1960 and then 65 and then 66. So there's a jump in time, but the majority of the story takes place in 1960. And in Deucey-Lep,
yes,
the opening prologue takes place in like a medieval time. I'm not sure if they give the exact year, but it's several hundred years before the rest of the story unfolds. So both films use multiple time periods to tell their overall story.
It's actually 1,000 years.
Oh, is it 1,000 even?
Yes, because he wants to get married on his 1,000th birthday, and then
but he seems so old at the time.
I know. I don't know if it's worth unpacking the time logic of Deucey-Lep.
Fuck, you put a little work in and it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's just to think your shit through. God damn it. Anywho, so yeah, time is a big one.
Vague.
And adjacent comparison I have of the two films is in the film Leprechaun, throughout the chronology of the franchise, they jump multiple time periods. So you have like what I assume to be like the early 90s, then the mid 90s, and then when they go to space, I haven't seen it. I can only imagine they're jumping to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back in time to be in the hood for episodes 5 and 6.
And back
and
to
then
Earth.
I imagine, and back to Earth, yeah. And in Wong Kar Wai's quadrilogy, there is a jump in time. There's not only several jumps in time in the film In the Mood for Love, but I believe within the quadrilogy, the films take place in different time periods. So both films as franchises and as standalone films really use multiple time periods to tell the overall story.
Powerful.
Yeah. You know, that's why you're buying me a lobster sub after this episode, Mike.
Oh, it's gonna be
kidding.
It's gonna be rotten because Subway will be like, "You want one of those? I'll get it out of the back." And they just have like a.
We stopped freezing these years ago. We just left it rotting in a bag behind the freezer,
and you'll still eat it.
Yummy in my tummy.
I want to point out that both films utilize the color red quite a bit. They use a lot of red lighting at night, but then also a red dress is a centerpiece of the film's imagery.
Right.
Because Bridget wears a red dress, which is, I guess, her wedding or marriage dress or whatever the heck is going on with her and Lep. But
no, I think it's her consummation.
Oh,
dress.
Never mind.
I believe they're married immediately.
Oh, really?
No priest necessary. Yeah, like he just says, "You're my wife," and she's his wife.
Mm.
You know.
Okay, but then
and then I believe the dress is for fugging.
And I guess that's kind of the case with In the Mood for Love too.
Apparently she wore 48 different dresses.
What?
And
Why?
her makeup took 5 hours every day. Oh, both films had extensive makeup and hair required for one of the leading stars.
Yeah, I guess that's true because it took 3 hours to do makeup for Lep, and then
it's odd.
Maggie
It
Cheung's
took less time to do Lep's makeup than it did to do her makeup.
Why did it take so long?
I don't know, because it's immaculate. She looks amazing throughout the whole film. They both do. I think I love his aesthetic.
Yeah.
And hers is too. I mean, that era, man, they knew how to wear clothes. They knew how to make them. They knew how to wear them.
Also, in the Mood for Love, isn't there like a lot of clocks on the clocks?
Tons of clocks. Yeah. I thought that was all about exploring that, like when you're in a relationship, time allocation becomes much more defined and special, and is enforced culturally and socially. So like dinner time is time when you have to spend it with your partner. Work time is when you are alone, but you're with your coworkers and you're performing. And then you never really have like time to be alone. But then in the film, they would show like what time it is. And then it would show you who they're with and how that would change as the film goes on.
Yeah.
And then their partners became less and less relevant as the story unfolded, and they would be up later and later.
It's wild that they kind of improvise this movie because it seems so like perfectly
Full
constructed.
circle. Yeah. I know. It's crazy. I imagine he takes a ton of notes.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you could probably just be like, oh, I see what theme we're kind of unlocking. Interesting. Also, another thing between the two of them is there's like basically like a underlying layer of horniness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
sexual tension.
Yeah. But like Lep has got his own special brand of like kind of whimsical horniness. But then, in the Mood for Love characters, they can't have each other, but they want each other.
Mm-hmm. And if I may, this is conjecture, but
go on.
I believe so. Maggie Cheung's character, her boss is having an affair. So he has a wife and family and then a mistress, and she helps him organize the two things. And I would expect that if Bridget and Lep were to have their relationship continue, he would do the exact same thing. He would get a receptionist. He would have them help him organize so that...
The skeleton is the receptionist.
Oh, so he even has similarities are just all over the place in this goddamn movie.
What else do you got?
The last one I have is both films really utilize like tactile sensory focus. So like you've always got creepy little shots of Lep grabbing shit with his hands, like gold, tree branches, people, he's always touching shit. And Maggie Lung's always like touching door frames and walls and the phone, and a lot of it is like caress and very delayed and very deliberate. And it's similar to your previous point. I think that like endows the moment with this like tension and this sexual horny palpability that you just really get in the camera work. Like having a shot where she walks through, talks to somebody, you can't even see who she's talking to. You just see her fucking hand on a door frame, like playing with the wood, or on a hand railing of like a stairwell. And she's talking on the phone, like that's some horny business. And in Deucey-Lep, that's happening all the time. I mean, Lep is touching gold in a sexual way. He's touching women in a sexual way.
That's true.
I think he's touching himself in a sexual way a couple times. I mean, he's a very tactile, very horny character.
He also has a Leprechaun themed roadster that he drives around, like his little
oh, that's right, the go-kart
his F1
thing.
Car that he drives, and like that's kind of like he's overcompensating for something. Like he's kind of just trying to show off his manliness, trying to impress ladies with his giant car, his Leprechaun, his no-leaf clover car.
Yeah. Shit, a lot of similarities in these two films. Hey, do you have anything else, Mike?
No, I think we've arrived at our conclusion that they're identical films.
I think they explore similar themes, similar aesthetics, similar artistic approach. I bet you a lot of improv on the set of Deucey-Lep.
Yeah, I think Warwick Davis he kind of added his own flavor, and I think that's probably why he enjoyed the movie. And I also think that was probably why people like the movie. Yeah, because there's kind of like this wittiness to it. Yeah, there's like a charismatic wittiness to it that comes maybe from his improv. I don't know if he was doing a lot of improv, but he was definitely adding his own flavor to it.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
So, Deucey-Lep.
So, yeah, these two films, I mean, there's a reason they both won the Palme d'Or, respectively.
Oh, I know.
I mean, shit. Wow. Great films. I would recommend, if people chose to listen to this slab of meat without watching the films, hopefully you feel the wish to watch them now. I mean, they're both great. Yeah. I'd be interested to see how many people are the Venn diagram of this particular episode. Because In the Mood for Love is not it's not a super easy movie to come by. I mean, we watched it on Blu-ray, which you can get easily, but if you have Amazon or whatnot. But I don't know where to stream it. I guess Criterion Channel. You can rent it on Amazon Prime. Oh, you can? I believe so. Yeah, nice. For $5. Worth it. It's worth paying a little money. And Deucey-Lep is, if you have Prime Video, it's free. It's on there. Yeah, the entire franchise is on there. Prime is very easy. It's like it's an insanely bottomless well of movies now. It's crazy. If you can just scroll down for days, and there's just so many movies. It's true. It's true. We haven't fed from the bottom lately. No, like there's so many bad LaQuisha style. Yeah, LaQuisha was definitely at the bottom, and it was definitely a talking cat as well. Yeah, we haven't like gone like truly to the bottom in quite a while. Well, maybe let's try and go to the bottom of Prime Video, just to see what else dwells at the bottom. Yeah, this pairing is very similar to a previous episode we had of the Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Ready Player One, because you've got like
people who are in love, but they can't because their love is forbidden. And then you also, on the other end, have a movie that is also about love, but it's about the love from a trollish, like incel, I guess.
Yeah.
So
100%. I mean, Lep is an incel by definition, I believe.
Truly, yeah. Like he wants love, but he can't have it.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't love himself. I mean, you got to start there. If you ever want to have a proper relationship with another human being, you need to love yourself.
You do.
It's so important. And it's ultimately unfair to other people in your life if you don't love yourself.
Yeah, that's why Lep should love himself.
I have 2 rules in this world, Mike. The first rule is be honest to yourself and the people you love. And the second rule is do not eat lobster if it's between bread.
Yeah, that is your second rule, yeah.
Yeah. So I think both of those are present in both films. You know, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in both these movies.
The use of the color red in both films kind of calls back to the lobster idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's also kind of a subtle hinting at the future domination of culture by Jordan Peterson and his group of lobster fans.
Yeah.
Who will one day be involved in a civil war with the Kanines.
Fuck yeah. Okay, so great. We compared the films. They have a lot of thematic similarities. They're obviously different, but they're also so similar.
Well, I was surprised how, like, just starting it, I was surprised that Leprechaun or Deucey-Lep had so much. Like, it instantly went into a love plot line, and I was like, oh, weird. This is going to be a movie about Leprechaun falling in love. This is going to make our comparisons very easy. But it's also interesting because Lep is a villain, but he just wants love, but he can't have it. So yeah, he definitely is a proto incel for sure.
Yeah.
But also it's wild to have a horror villain who wants to be in love with somebody, you know? That's so innocent.
It really is, isn't it? I mean, we're all fallible, aren't we, Mike? You're a villain in somebody else's story, as am I, and as are all the other Kanines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all villains depending on who you talk to. We're either the hero, we're supporting cast, we're an extra eating a lobster sandwich in the background of the shot, or we're the antagonist.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you believe that, like the protagonist idea, that people believe that they're protagonists in their own story, but then we're all, side characters in other people's stories? Is there one protagonist and we just don't know who it is, and we're all NPCs, and there's one person who's not?
No, there isn't. I mean, we are all. The only reason you want to live your life is because you're the protagonist to it. Mm-hmm. If you weren't, what is the point of anything?
But some people are kind of NPCs, don't you think? Like non-player characters.
But I think even within their own sense of being, they are, to whatever their capability is or their comfort level is, they're protagonists within that life.
Right.
Just from their perspective. I think there's no way you can work around the fact that, like, we are all subjective to our own lives. And that's just how it is. Yeah, but
somebody out there is having a very exciting hero's journey right now.
Yeah.
And we're all having our own stories, but it's not like as exciting. Where they're not meeting, they're not meeting a mentor character before they like refuse the call, matters, all Mike. That stuff, and then
every story, good, bad, boring, fun, comedic, sad, whatever, they all have a character, and if that character is the only character, then it is the protagonist. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It is still, in essence, a story. Yeah, well, that's, I think, like the definition of a story. I mean, the definition of a life is that somebody has to inhabit it. Mm-hmm. What they do within that life is irrelevant to the definition.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're not talking about this jokingly, it is a wild belief to basically attribute movie logic to real life, and not vice versa.
It's stupid.
I mean, it's wild both ways, because if you're like, real life is like a movie, And this, and then you just treat everything like it's a rom-com, and then you just live in this delusion, and then you get hurt all the time in your romantic life. That's
just not healthy. I mean,
that's not healthy.
I feel like incels sort of sometimes get information from film and from pop culture, and their behavior is a result of that, and it's very misguided, it's very unhealthy, and it's very unsavory. So yeah, I don't think that's a healthy way to perceive life or yourself. Well,
yeah, I mean, in classic form, people who have masculinity issues misinterpret a text, like Fight Club. Hilariously, a lot of people just think that's not like satire. They don't see the satire in it.
Totally. Yeah. Well, that's the danger of satire, too. I mean, that's another conversation, but satire only works for people who are smart enough to realize it's satire. It's just a straight telling if you don't realize it's satire. That's why it's a dangerous medium.
Yeah. But Lep is kind of a main character, even if he's perceived as a villain, but he's a protagonist in a way. He's not like he's the antagonist, but he's a protagonist.
I would say what's interesting about him is his definition is a little different because he is the protagonist. Because without him, the franchise doesn't exist. The film doesn't exist. We know more about him, and he's also the only one who wants anything. I mean, by definition, he's literally the protagonist because he's the one with the goal. He's the one who starts the story off. He's an anti-hero.
Yeah. But people complain about unlikable characters, but Lep is very unlikable, but he's in many ways the protagonist because he's got a lot more going on. Although a lot of the time people will talk about how antagonists are the ones who want something and then the protagonist is there to stop them.
And that's a good example of that is Deucey-Lep.
Yeah,
but also superhero films. A lot of fables are like that.
Yeah, Superman doesn't want anything.
No, he's just kind of fucking around, living his life in a barn.
Well, he wants to just be a journalist, really. He wants to win a Pulitzer.
Right. Or Spider-Man or...
Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker just wants to be like a...
Yeah, he doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to be a farm boy.
Yeah, he just wants to fix machines or whatever the hell.
If he did that, let's say George Lucas was bad at writing... Well, no, he is bad at writing, but if he was bad at conceptualizing franchises, and he said, I thought of this thing called Star Wars. It's about a space farm boy, and we just follow his life. It's a very nuanced drama. His name is Luke Skywalker. He's an orphan. He's got some emotional baggage related to that, and he just fixes machinery. We see him grow old. We see him fall in love. We see his loved one perish because of the Empire. He mourns her. Then he's on his deathbed, and he's learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah.
That could be Star Wars. That is still a story, and he's still the protagonist of that story, even though he didn't do the hero's journey. He didn't do blah, blah, blah,
here's something. I mean, while we're on the topic of Star Wars, this has nothing to do with In the Mood for Love or Deucey-Lep, but something I always wonder about. So in episode 1, which we should maybe cover as a bad movie, even though...
Are you talking about Phantom Menace?
Phantom Menace, yeah.
Yeah, loved it. Loved it as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody who grew up with it loved it, and everybody who didn't grow up with it hated it. So, of course, that's how it always works. Your favorite Star Wars movie is the movie you saw when you were 6 or 8 or whatever?
Because it's just a theme park ride.
Yeah, but something that I don't understand or that they don't really address in any of the Star Wars movies, and this is maybe the fundamental flaw.
Oh, okay, shit, wow.
The fundamental flaw to Star Wars is this. So, Anakin Skywalker, nay Darth Vader, maybe I'm getting those reversed, but he supposedly built C3PO. In The Phantom Menace, they establish as canon that Anakin Skywalker built C3PO as a child.
Oh, that's right.
So in the later movies, when he's Darth Vader, he never acknowledges C3PO. He's never like, hey, it's my old buddy. I built this guy. Like, we used to hang out. We spent like my childhood together. Like, we're best buds. Like, you never see Darth Vader be like, Oh, or it's like they never exchange an awkward glance. It's never like, that guy. You know, if they pass each other on the streets of Tatooine and just like Darth Vader keeps his head down just so he doesn't make eye contact with C3PO because they were old friends who kind of aren't friends anymore.
Had a falling out.
Technically had a massive falling out. Yeah. Because C3PO is just like sending him a Facebook message. It's like, dude, you changed, man. Mm-hmm. You changed.
There's something you're not taking into consideration, and it's the class divide. C3PO is poor by proxy because Luke is poor. So that class divide, when would they ever actually have a chance to sit down or even have an awkward glance? You know, like if they're in Tatooine or whatever, and they're in the supermarket and they both have their shopping carts and C3PO is picking up motor oil off the shelf, and Darth Vader is picking up, also motor oil because he's mostly a fucking robot at that point. And they hit carts. Like they would never be in that situation because Darth Vader has a little, servant running around getting that shit for him. I mean, C3PO would never Uber Eats, but Darth Vader Uber Eats 7 days a week.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going with this, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the only time they would cross is when there would be a straight up confrontation. And it would be like the two of them fighting. And by that point,
which seems frequent.
It does seem frequent, and that's because Luke is involved. But I do think I just think the class divide, there's too much distance between them. Yeah,
Darth Vader's is shopping at Loblaws, whereas C3PO, he's a No Frills guy. Or if you're American,
exactly.
Darth Vader's at Whole Foods, I guess, and maybe C3PO's at Piggly Wiggly.
Nice, yeah. Or Trader Joe's?
No, Trader Joe's is for yuppies.
Oh, it's pricey. Okay.
It's not pricey, but it's
for yuppies.
It's just for yuppies, yeah. They don't really build them in poor racialized neighborhoods.
Oh, okay.
So if it was like meant for those people, they would be built there, but they don't. Okay. Makes you think.
Good to know. I've learned a lot this episode, Mike.
Same.
I hope you did too. Great. Let's sign off really quick and end this motherfucking 2-hour episode.
It was all gold, just like Deucey-Lep's favorite thing. Gold is gold.
Favorite currency, or like currency standard.
Yes. It's weird. Anywho. Also, it's weird that Morty, you knew that he loved tricking people and that he liked money, but
yeah,
it kind of came as a surprise to me that all of a sudden he wanted Lep's gold, and then B, Lep could grant wishes.
I know. I thought that was more of a genie thing.
Yeah, it was kind of came out of left field that Lep could grant wishes, and he could grant wishes between walls. Like he was trapped in a metal safe, and the wishes could go through the metal wall, even though it was kind of like his kryptonite. So that was like a real thing I had a lot of trouble with, where I spent a lot of time angrily typing on forums. On the Deucey-Lep forums. Deucey-Lep at .angelfire.com.
Oh, fuck, that's funny. You're also the host of said forum.
Yes.
You HTML'd that website like a motherfucker. You just designed it from the ground up.
Got to have the flame GIFs on the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
Once you find those GIFs, you just got to put them on the side there.
Yeah. Well, people, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did.
Yeah, this was a surprising success.
Going into this, I thought to myself, boy, oh boy, did we fucking phone it in on this one. This episode's going to be dog shit from the get-go. But it turned out to be a really strong episode, I thought.
Well, often we will pick movies that are so incongruous that there's no way that they make sense together, but somehow it always works out.
Well, you and I are really smart, Mike. I mean, there's no way around it. You know what I mean?
True.
We're just a couple smart cookies. You have a post-secondary degree. I went to post-secondary for a couple months. We've got a lot of schooling between the two of us. And
you're right.
It shows, I think, in our analysis.
You're right. We are super smart. Yeah, that's right. And that's why we have the Canine Army behind us.
That's true. It's true. Very strong army.
This was a nice, juicy slab for them to to sink their
to gnaw on.
to gnaw on in their greasy maws.
Yeah. What's it called? Like when dogs are in a not a huddle, a pack.
A pack?
Boom, a pack. Yeah, we have a pack of canines.
Yeah, our canines get together in a pack, and they just grab a slab and they masticate.
Slab.
They just masticate in a circle.
Yeah. Ooh, God, a mastication circle. Well, on that note, this has been from Justin and Kane.
I'm Mike.
and I've been Bob. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
Okay, bye.
Bye.